In 1943, deep in Burma, a Japanese detachment disappeared. Not just lost, vanished. It was a mission to hold ground. They found abandoned rifles' footprints that just stopped. No bodies, no blood. The jungle held its breath, a weaponized silence. Survivors spoke of nights where eyes glowed in the dark just beyond the perimeter wire. Their fear was a living thing. Patrols vanished without a sound. No gunfire, no struggle. They just faded into the darkness. A silent ambush. The final assault was unlike anything. Not a charge, but a tearing force. Shadows larger than men shredded their lines. Rifles emptied, machine guns roared, grenades thundered. But nothing fell. The enemy was untouchable, unstoppable. All they heard were the screams, then silence. The jungle absorbed them, a monstrous maw swallowing men whole. By dawn, the unit was broken. Helmets and gear littered the mud, but the bodies were missing, erased from existence. The official report read, "Enemy ambush." But the truth was a buried secret, a line repeated in personal notes. 80 years later, the chapter remains untold.
80 years later.
The question unanswered, what happened in that jungle was not human. 1943, a detachment of Japan's 18th Division marches deep into Burma, a mission to hold the jungle approaches. The jungle swallows light and sound. Every step is a contest against terrain exhaustion and the unknown. Months of training hardened them. Forced marches and bayonet drills forge discipline, but endurance has its limits. Their arms are stretched thin, Type 99 rifles, Nambu machine guns, and a handful of mortar shells. Ammunition is rationed. Communication is fragile. Radios fail. Runners and field phones are their only hope. Every message is a gamble. Malaria stalks the unit. Quinine is a ritual. Fevers can destroy them faster than any bullet from the enemy. Logistics is a quiet battle. Rice and salt are rationed, always one delay away from scarcity and hunger. Routine is survival. Dawn and dusk stand to weapon inspections, and sanitation checks are barriers against chaos. Camouflage is their lifeblood. Helmets are netted, bayonets smeared. A glint in the light can mean death. Silence is a weapon. A dropped utensil echoes. Every breath and step must be controlled to avoid detection. Letters from home and faded photographs preserve morale, a thread of humanity within the machine of war. Leadership is repetition. Orders are drilled and repeated until they are etched into the men's memories. Reconnaissance patrols sharpen the map. Creeks and ridges are named. Knowledge is a shield against the unknown. Signs of the enemy appear in fragments, boot prints, and cigarette scraps. They are present but unseen. Drills are endless. Flanking maneuvers and bounding fire become muscle memory, their only insurance. At dusk, the jungle tightens. Rifles are leveled as shadows consume the last light. Discipline holds strong. Medical orderlies watch every cough. Dressings and sulfa are rationed like ammunition. Disease is a quiet killer. Night defenses are precise. Arcs of fire establish tripwires, stretch ration tins filled with stones. Starlight disappears beneath the canopy. Navigation depends on touch and the rhythm of roots under their boots. Letters from home are talismans, reread until words blur anchors in a world unmoored from comfort. Command emphasizes intent over detail. Hold ground, deny recon, preserve strength. Subordinates translate for survival. The jungle punishes neglect. Leeches, rashes, and fevers slow them down. Hygiene is tactics by another name. Rations are stretched thin with bamboo shoots and bitter greens. Hunger is never solved, only postponed. Marksmanship is secondary to fire discipline. Every round matters. Every burst must be justified. An Allied signal scrap confirms the corridor is contested in no man's land, fought in silence as much as blood. The platoon's map is crowded. Water points, ambush sites, and warnings are all annotated. Knowledge buys time. Scent must be controlled. Fires are smokeless, latrines masked. To be smelled is to be found by the enemy. Burdens are rotated with fairness. Shared weight binds the unit as strongly as loyalty. Strength reports are blunt men down with fever, a cracked rifle. Numbers that conceal exhaustion's simplicity. The jungle both conceals and constrains. Vines catch slings, roots twist ankles. Every motion is a battle. Drills are conducted in silence. Hand signals ripple down the line. Repetition is their ultimate defense. At headquarters, there is a single pin on a vast map. A small weight holding a critical front. Fatigue is an enemy. Micro rests are enforced. Watches are rotated. Every pause is rationed like water. The sergeant recites the litany before dawn water, spacing arcs return routes. Words shape the day. They step off 30 men moving as one. Their discipline is unyielding. The jungle keeps its secrets. The first signs are subtle. A patrol fails to return at dusk. By dawn, only silence and mist remain to tell the story of their disappearance. Search parties find no bodies or weapons, only a canteen strap on a route and boot prints that vanished mid-trail, a ghostly impression. Closer inspection reveals deep gouges in a teak trunk far wider than any machete could make a mark left by an unknown force. Officers blame an enemy ambush, but there are no casings, no allied gear, no signs of a struggle, just an eerie, unsettling emptiness. The men whisper of guttural, prolonged voices, carried on the wind at night, tones they know are too unnatural to be human. Discipline suppresses discussion, but a creeping unease grows. Jokes fade and eyes linger too long on the impenetrable tree line. A sentry reports tall shapes sliding between the trees, too silent for animals and too large for any man in the jungle. When the area is checked, only tracks remain, impressions larger than boots, pressed deeply into the soft, unforgiving mud. Measured against a rifle stock, the stride is nearly half again as long as a man's. The detail is noted, then quietly buried in reports. Ration stores are disturbed night after night. Bags of rice vanish, yet no trails lead away from the camp, a baffling mystery. A soldier claims he heard wet, slow, deliberate chewing near his foxhole. When he shouted, the chilling noise ceased instantly. Another insists his rifle was nearly pulled from his hands in the dark. The weapon bears fresh dents on the stock, a silent testimony. The platoon sergeant doubles the watch schedule. Fatigue sets in every precious hour of wakefulness stolen from another man's rest. During a patrol, coarse black hair is found snagged on thorn bushes, thicker than that of any known jungle animal. The samples are logged and sent back with a report, but a chilling silence returns from headquarters. The men adopt rituals of their own, charms tied to rifles, whispered prayers, before taking the line at dusk, a desperate hope. The field aidman notes rising pulse rates and shallow breathing among men with no fever or wound. Stress has become its own infection. A machine gun team by the river swears they saw a silhouette crouched to drink, moving like a man, but gone before they could advance. Fire discipline restrains them from shooting, leaving them with nothing but haunting memories and a growing, suffocating dread. A runner reports feeling followed branches, snapping footsteps shadowing his pace. When he stopped, all sounds ceased completely. The jungle itself seems unsettled. Birds scatter in sudden flurries, startled by a presence unseen, a predator in their midst. One morning, a trail of crushed bamboo leads directly toward camp, yet not a single footprint accompanies it, a path of impossible weight. A mortar base plate is discovered moved several meters overnight. No soldier admits responsibility, and a new layer of fear sets in. Even the mules sense the unease. They bray and strain against tethers, eyes wide at shadows that men cannot see, a primitive fear. The platoon commander enforces calm with routine, but drills and patrols only thicken the sense of unease, a tightening dread. During one stand-to, a private collapses in panic, claiming he felt a hand clutch his shoulder. No one stood behind him. Reports arrive from neighboring units, missing scouts, unnatural noises, tracks that end in nothing. The pattern is wider than one platoon. Official channels remain silent. The war is recorded in tonnage and divisions, not in whispers of the unseen. In private diaries, the tone shifts. Fewer entries on tactics, more on sleepless nights, in the chilling sense of being watched. One diary closes with the line, "We are not alone here. Something walks with us, though it never shows its face." By the end of the month, efficiency phrase. Allied patrols are feared less than the unseen presence pacing them. In every account, whispered or written, the conclusion emerges: they face an adversary beyond the manuals of war, something unnatural. As rations dwindle, men grow gaunt. Their greatest fear is not hunger or Allied patrols, but what circles the perimeter each night. The final entries echo one theme: the enemy they were sent to fight is unseen, while a silent, patient adversary moves closer, falters under an invisible pressure. During night watch, a sentry fails to answer. At dawn, his rifle is found propped neatly against a tree by unseen hands. Tracks encircle the perimeter, measuring arcs of fire with reconnaissance precision. The enemy, whatever it is studying them. A jungle sweep yields no Allied signs, only claw marks carved into trunks 2 meters up, far beyond human reach. Mess is eaten in silence. Every twig snap outside the firelight halts conversation. Spoons scrape tin with deliberate caution. A sealed sack of rice disappears from a dugout. The guard swears he never left his voice breaking as he speaks. Mules collapse in terror, thrashing against ropes until they tear their hides. Their cries echo through the jungle like an alarm. The men give the threat a name, the Shadow Giant, and attempt to make the unexplainable seem more tangible. A patrol finds bamboo stalks, broken chest-high, twisted outward, as if by enormous and monstrous strength. The body of a missing soldier is discovered, bones shattered without bullet wounds. No known weapon could cause such injuries. The official report reads, ambushed. The men record another truth in their diaries. Something else struck. At Stand to the jungle falls silent. Stones rattle against wire alarms. Breath is held across the line in anticipation. Flares reveal nothing but mist. When the light dies, large hulking shapes move just beyond sight. Panic grips a machine gun team. Tracers rip through the canopy against orders. Nothing falls. Nothing is hit. By morning, the earth is churned with massive tracks. Each step sinks deeper than a man's weight could press. A diary note confesses it is not one. There are more. They are watching us constantly. Nightmares spread through the camp. Men jolt awake, convinced they felt hands grasping at them in the dark. The sergeant imposes punishments for disorder, but fear no longer responds to their rigid discipline. A runner vanishes. His dispatch is later found bloodied and nailed to a tree with a sharpened bamboo stake. Tighter formations are ordered, but the slower pace only magnifies the chilling sensation of being watched from the shadows. During a river crossing, a soldier is pulled under in silence. His helmet drifts back to the surface alone. The platoon rakes the water with rifle fire, but no body surfaces. The water offers no answers to their pleas. They discover an abandoned Allied outpost, supplies intact, but its walls are clawed and floorboards split. The conclusion spreads through the platoon: this ground is cursed. They are no longer safe anywhere here. That night, tripwire alarms rattle. Rifles aim into the dark. Nothing breaches the line, nothing is seen or heard. The silence is worse than a battle. Waiting erodes nerves faster than any combat they have ever faced. A soldier carves prayers into his rifle stock. Another refuses to leave his foxhole at night, trapped by fear. A lightning storm exposes a towering figure striding across the ridge before it vanishes into the trees. The platoon fires wildly, wasting precious ammunition. The jungle answers their wasted fire with only thunder. At dawn, 2 men are gone, their ponchos shredded where they slept, as if by a wild beast. The commander's notes shrink into fragments, short, desperate phrases, unfinished thoughts, and admissions of fear. The march tempo increases. The men move as if speed alone can break the silent, terrifying pursuit. The forest closes in. Visibility collapses, sound bends, and voices echo from the wrong, misleading directions. A night incursion sparks chaos. A lantern tips over flames, lick canvas, and men fire on shadows in the night. When order returns, 3 more are missing. The roster of the platoon shrinks again, becoming a grim roll call. The roster shrinks to half strength. Each stand to becomes a grim roll call, a haunting tally of their losses. Training unravels under pressure. Spacing collapses, fire discipline fails, and pure fear dictates their every movement. Routine survives as a desperate ceremony. Inspections and orders continue not from conviction, but to preserve their sanity. Every night, silence descends in the same order: the hush, the prickle of skin, the certainty of being observed. By week's end, no one believes this is guerrilla warfare. They march in a different war now, one not written in manuals. At dawn, stand to rifles aim into fog that refuses to clear. The sensation of eyes on them is undeniable. A scream erupts. A soldier is dragged backward into the foliage, vanishing in an instant, a horrifying end. Rifles blaze tracers, slicing wild arcs, but the forest absorbs every round without a sound. When the smoke clears, helmets and torn webbing litter the ground. All is still again, and nothing is left. The survivors realize the truth: they are no longer on an operation in Burma. They are prey in a hunt they cannot comprehend. The platoon is at half strength, but the order is given to press on. Their objective is no longer victory, it's survival. At dawn, a reconnaissance team is dispatched. They never return. Only a shredded pack and broken rifle stock are found. The commander debates withdrawal, but transmission lines are down. Headquarters is silent as the jungle grows louder. During the next march, an eerie primal chorus rises from the forest, freezing every man in place. Suddenly, the canopy erupts. A massive shadow crashes through the trees, scattering men like leaves in the wind. Gunfire erupts, rifles bark, machine guns roar, grenades burst, but the enemy remains elusive in the smoke and chaos. Screams punctuate the chaos. Men vanish into the foliage, dragged away before comrades can even intervene. A mortar section fires into the tree line. Explosions split the jungle, but no targets fall. The enemy is untouched. In the haze, soldiers glimpse enormous, unblinking silhouettes moving unnaturally fast, closing in from all sides. The platoon pulls back into a defensive circle, weapons aimed outward, hearts pounding against the suffocating silence. The jungle stills, then explodes again. Branches snap like bones. Something barrels through the perimeter, overturning men and gear. A soldier fires point blank into the mass. His body is found moments later, crushed beyond all recognition. The commander shouts for a controlled fire, but panic rules the night. Ammunition is spent in desperate wild bursts. Tripwire alarms clatter uselessly as multiple breaches occur at once. The perimeter collapses under the weight of unseen attackers. A mule is hurled into the air, crashing down lifeless. Terror spreads through the ranks faster than any order. Men break ranks, scattering into the forest. The commander tries to rally them, his voice drowned out by screaming. A diary note from a survivor records the chaos in one simple line. The night became teeth and shadow. Grenades detonate, foliage burns, but the attackers do not relent. They are tireless in their assault. A machine gun jams mid-burst. Both crewmen are snatched away, their cries cut short by the surrounding silence. The medic attempts to drag a wounded man to cover, but both vanish when a massive shape crashes through the smoke. Bodies are torn apart, weapons abandoned, helmets left like empty shells in the mud. The platoon is broken. The platoon contracts into a knot, back-to-back, firing into the dark with the last of their ammunition. For a brief moment, silence returns. Then a howl rises from all sides, a sound not from any species known to man. The surviving men freeze rifles, trembling faces, drained of all color. Their will to fight is gone. When the next assault comes, it is overwhelming. Shadows sweep through the line and men fall in waves. The commander is struck and thrown to the ground. His map case bursts open, papers scattering like dead leaves. Those who remain fight with bayonets and fists. Their training collapses into a primal, desperate struggle for life. One soldier drives a blade into something solid and screams that he struck bone. Moments later, he is gone. The last flares are fired. For an instant, silhouettes tower against the trees, massive, inhuman, unblinking. The flares burn out. Darkness reclaims the ground, erasing what was seen. Survivors stagger through the smoke, ears ringing, their weapons empty. The line is broken beyond all repair. The jungle is filled with groans and cries for help, then silence as each is cut short. The massacre is complete. By morning, only a fraction remain. Equipment lies scattered, torn, and useless. The clearing is devastated, trees splintered, soil churned, and bodies missing. No evidence of the attackers remains. The commander, wounded and shaking, writes a final note. We faced an enemy not listed in any report. Not human, not of this earth. What began as a military operation has ended as a massacre. Nothing could have prepared them for this. The climax leaves only survivors too broken to speak their silence, a chilling and haunting testimony. The jungle swallows the battlefield whole, erasing all but the faintest whispers of what happened here. As the sun rises, smoke drifts over a shattered perimeter. Rifles and helmets are abandoned, but the men are gone, erased by the jungle itself. The survivors understand the truth: they were hunted by something beyond human. Burma will forever keep its dark secret buried in shadow. At dawn, the battlefield is quiet. The air is heavy with smoke and the faint scent of cordite, but the attackers are gone without a trace. Helmets are overturned, rifles bent, and gear is scattered like driftwood. Yet most of the bodies are missing, as if swallowed whole. The survivors gather slowly, their eyes hollow. Movements are mechanical, and no one speaks of what they saw in the dark. The commander calls a head count. Less than a third of the original unit remains, a grim and silent tally of the night's events. Official reports are drafted. The entry reads, casualties sustained during ambush by Allied irregulars. It is a lie of omission. The language is clinical and detached, erasing the raw, unfiltered terror of the night before from the record. But in private journals, a different, more terrifying truth emerges. We did not fight men, it was something else entirely. Field medics treat wounds that defy explanation: crushed ribs, broken limbs, more consistent with enormous force than with any weapon. Ammunition crates are nearly empty. Grenades, mortars, and rifle rounds were expended, yet with little to show for the effort. A deafening silence lingers over the camp. Even whispers feel dangerous, as though speaking aloud might summon the unseen once more. Letters are written to families with cold official phrases: killed in action, did not suffer. The brutal reality is left unspoken. One soldier burns his diary in a tin, unwilling to let his account fall into the wrong hands or be disbelieved. Another hides his notes in his pack, determined that someone someday will know the horrifying truth. The platoon withdraws under escort. Their march is slow, haunted, each step burdened by the memory of the night. In villages along the route, locals refuse to meet their eyes. Perhaps they too know of the jungle's deadly secret. Night marches are filled with dread. Every broken branch is mistaken for pursuit, every sound a potential threat. The men refuse to light fires, though the nights are cold and damp. Better to freeze than to draw attention. Commanders receiving the survivors note their condition pale, hollow, and shaken. Yet the official report remains unchanged. The phrase enemy ambush is repeated, standardized, and then archived forever in the war's history. Within weeks, survivors are reassigned. Some to new units, others to hospitals. All are unwilling to speak of it. A few desert en route, vanishing into the jungle rather than risk another night of haunted pursuit. The commander files his last note: enemy not identified, further inquiry not recommended. The sentence is underlined twice. Among the men, silence becomes an oath. To speak of what happened is to relive it every single moment. Yet in quiet moments, they confess to each other. Footsteps from the jungle still follow them in dreams. Years later, some recount fragments in bars, their voices breaking before the story can be finished. Others never speak of Burma at all, carrying their memories like sealed and haunted coffins. The aftermath is not victory, not defeat. It is an absence of men of a clear truth, of any certainty. The official history of the campaign continues. But in the margins, the missing are remembered differently. For the survivors, the war against human enemies fades. The memory of that night, however, never does. For the rest of their lives, they carry Burma with them. Not a battlefield won or lost, but a question without an answer, a silence that stalks them. After the war, Japanese archives hold scattered reports from Burma, many marked irregular encounter, classified in red ink. Allied intelligence seizes captured documents. Some are cataloged, while others vanish entirely into restricted, unsearchable files. A British officer later recalls a folder labeled Unidentified Hostile Burma, 1943. He never saw it again after his initial brief. In Japanese war diaries, pages are missing. Entire patrol reports from the jungle are blacked out or completely removed. Among the surviving soldiers, silence becomes tradition. To speak of Burma is to risk disbelief or worse, open ridicule. Yet fragments leak through. Veterans write memoirs where one chilling chapter is always conspicuously absent. A letter from a survivor to his family mentions giants in the forest. The phrase is crossed out, replaced with enemy ambush. Decades later, oral histories surface. In them, the voices of the old men tremble when the name of Burma is mentioned. One soldier describes eyes like burning coals, glimpsed for only an instant before the jungle swallowed them back up. Another insists he felt a hand larger than his chest press him into the ground, though nothing was ever visible. Historians dismiss such accounts as stress or fever, but the chilling consistency across all the testimonies is difficult to ignore. American intelligence in the 1950s reviews Allied field notes. A chilling memo reads similar patterns reported in Assam and New Guinea. The implication is clear: the Burma event was not an isolated incident. It was part of a larger terrifying pattern. Whispers in military circles call it the Burma event. It becomes a cautionary tale never officially acknowledged. Local Burmese villagers tell their own stories. Legends of forest spirits guarding the deep jungle, hunting intruders at night. These accounts predate the war by generations, suggesting a continuity beyond one specific campaign. In the 1970s, declassified British files mention unexplained losses during the Arakan operations. No further details are ever provided. Researchers note similarities with modern remote forest encounters, large tracks missing people, and unexplained terror. Some point to a wider phenomenon linking Burma with other cases from the Himalayas to the Pacific. Others dismiss it all as folklore amplified by the deep trauma of war, a simple defense mechanism. But diaries recovered from the time speak with chilling clarity. It was not a man. We did not fight a human. Survivors age into silence. At reunions, Burma is the one subject that is always carefully avoided. When pressed, some break down, unable to finish their sentences. Their fear persists for decades after the gunfire. A Japanese historian compiles testimonies in the 1990s. His book is quietly pulled from shelves after a limited release. Speculation grows that higher commands knew more than they admitted. The lack of follow-up suggests intentional suppression. Modern analysts refer to these events in connection with broader patterns, what some now call creature alpha incidents. Whether superstition, hallucination, or a genuine encounter, the question remains completely unresolved. Burma's jungles still stand silent and impenetrable, keeping their own dark counsel and their secrets hidden. And the men who survived carry to their graves the memory of an adversary unnamed, unrecorded, and unanswered. The Burma campaign is remembered officially as a failed advance, but for those who were there, it remains a chapter unwritten.